Most people assume yellow teeth are simply a cosmetic issue. They think it's caused by coffee, aging, or poor brushing habits. And while surface stains do exist, persistent yellowing often comes from something deeper. Not from the outside, but from structural changes happening inside the teeth. Because teeth are not just hard shells. They are dynamic structures that respond to daily biological conditions. And when those conditions change, the appearance of your teeth changes too. This is why some people drink coffee for decades and still maintain a relatively bright smile, while others notice discoloration even with careful oral hygiene. The difference is not just what touches the teeth, it's what supports them from within. Teeth rely on mineral integrity to maintain their natural brightness. When the outer layer becomes compromised, light no longer reflects the same way. Instead of appearing smooth and slightly translucent, teeth begin to look dull, opaque, or yellow. This happens gradually, often unnoticed, until the color shift becomes obvious. And at that point, most people turn to whitening products. But whitening is designed to remove external stains, not rebuild structural strength. So if the underlying layer becomes more visible due to thinning protection, no amount of surface treatment will fully restore brightness. This is why some people experience temporary improvement after whitening, only to see the yellow tone return. Because the problem was never just the surface. It was exposure. To understand this better, it helps to know that the outer layer of teeth acts as a protective shield. It allows light to pass through in a way that creates a natural brightness. When that shield becomes thinner, the deeper layer begins to influence how the tooth looks. And that deeper layer has a naturally warmer tone. So what looks like staining may actually be increased visibility. This is where lifestyle plays a role. Daily habits influence the resilience of that outer protection. Frequent exposure to acidic environments, irregular hydration, and prolonged dryness in the mouth all contribute to subtle weakening. Over time, this makes teeth more vulnerable to visual changes. Another overlooked factor is how often the mouth gets a chance to reset. Constant snacking or sipping prevents natural buffering processes from doing their job. The mouth never returns to balance. And without that recovery time, protective processes slow down. The result is not immediate damage, but gradual loss of visual vitality. Something else many people miss is the role of airflow. Mouth breathing, especially during sleep, reduces the natural protective film that saliva provides. Saliva is more than moisture. It helps maintain the environment that keeps teeth looking smooth and light reflective. Without it, the surface becomes more susceptible to change. Even brushing habits can play an unexpected role. Brushing aggressively, especially after acidic meals or drinks, can contribute to micro-level surface disruption. It's not about brushing less. It's about brushing at the right time, when the environment is ready. All of this contributes to a slow shift in appearance. Not decay, not disease, but a change in how teeth interact with light. And once that interaction changes, the smile appears older, less vibrant, more yellow. Supporting the conditions that allow the surface to remain strong, and allowing the mouth to return to a state where protective mechanisms function properly. Because when those mechanisms are working, the visual impact changes, even without artificial whitening. But before discussing what helps, it's important to recognize what silently accelerates the problem. Because some everyday behaviors contribute more than most people realize. And many of them seem harmless. There are silent factors that accelerate tooth yellowing, even when someone believes they're doing everything right. Many of them are part of modern daily routines. And because of that, they often go unnoticed. One of the most important is eating frequency. It's not just about what you eat, but how often the oral environment is disrupted throughout the day. Every time you consume something, the internal balance of the mouth temporarily shifts. When these shifts happen repeatedly, the natural recovery system struggles to keep up. Saliva needs time. Time to neutralize. Time to stabilize. Time to protect. Without these intervals, the environment remains vulnerable longer than it should. Another common factor is inconsistent hydration. Even small reductions in water intake can affect saliva flow. When saliva becomes thicker or less abundant, its protective function weakens. This influences how the tooth surface responds to everyday stress. Something similar happens with breathing during sleep. When airflow passes through the mouth, moisture evaporates continuously. This prolonged dryness reduces the efficiency of natural mechanisms that help maintain the visual integrity of teeth. Over time, this contributes to a gradual loss of vitality. Dietary acidity also plays a role. Not only from obvious sources, but from foods often considered healthy. Citrus fruits, fermented drinks, and certain dressings can create a temporarily more sensitive environment. This state is not necessarily harmful, but it requires time to rebalance. When that time isn't allowed, the environment remains in a condition that favors visual changes. Brushing immediately after these moments can intensify the effect. because the surface is still stabilizing. Waiting allows balance to return before mechanical action takes place. Another overlooked element is sleep quality. Insufficient rest affects saliva production and consistency. Without proper support overnight, the longest protective period of the day becomes compromised. This means the mouth starts the day already at a disadvantage. The impact is not immediately visible. But over time, the difference appears. Teeth that once reflected light naturally begin to look more opaque, less defined, more yellow. The good news is that this process can be slowed, and even partially reversed, when the right conditions are restored. The focus should not be limited to removing stains, but to supporting the environment that preserves healthy appearance. Simple adjustments can make a difference. Allowing space between meals, maintaining consistent hydration, avoiding brushing immediately after acidic foods, encouraging nasal breathing during sleep, prioritizing proper rest. These are not complex actions, but they restore conditions that are often lost without awareness. When the oral environment returns to balance, the surface responds. Light reflection improves. Texture becomes more uniform, and tone may begin to appear brighter. Not through artificial intervention, but through natural recovery of visual integrity. This type of change does not happen overnight. It is progressive, subtle, and sustainable. Unlike quick fixes that rely on constant repetition, here, the goal is stability, preserving what already exists, and allowing the body to use its own maintenance mechanisms. Over time, the smile doesn't just look lighter, it looks healthier, more natural, more consistent. Because ultimately, the appearance of teeth reflects the balance of the environment they live in. And when that balance is supported, change becomes inevitable.